Hey, I hope all of you guys are excited. I hope, it's Monday morning. I hope you guys are fired up. I hope you're ready to crush this week. I'm excited. I'm actually going to the 10X Growth Con with Grant Cardone. So you guys have probably seen the advertisement. So I'm going to that at the end of this week. I'm super excited for that. If any of you guys are going to be there that are on this webinar, chat that in because I would love to meet you while we're down there. I am really excited to talk to you guys today about this topic, how to build rapport. I always start all of my webinars, though, off just thanking you, giving you a thank you for your time. I will tell you, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, your time's the most valuable. You guys know that. The fact that you're spending your time today is just a testament to what you want to do in growing your business and in personal development. But more importantly, it really just means so much to me that you guys would allow me to have some of your time to share with you what we've learned throughout the years. This is something today that I've learned from Tony Robbins, I've learned from Zig Ziglar. These are the things that they have taught me that I've then taken and lived out in my own life, and I want to share them with you guys today. Just to introduce myself, for all the people who are on the line that maybe don't know me, we had over 1,600 people register for this webinar, so super exciting. I was hoping to get 1,300 people, so we blew that out of the water and got 1,600 people to register for this webinar. My name's Luke Acree. I'm the president of ReminderMedia. ReminderMedia, we've been a sales company. We've been around for about 15 years. And really our focus, I'll tell you this, last year in 2018, we worked with over 38,000 small businesses. The majority of those businesses being in 3 different industries: the real estate industry, the financial services industry, and the insurance industry. And if you guys were to ask me, Luke, what are you seeing in the marketplace out of those 38,000 businesses that you're working with? Who are having the most success? Why are they having the most success? In 2018, just reconfirmed for me that the key to business is relationships. The number one key, if I can give you anything out of this webinar, it's relationships. That's where my passion is. When I look at ReminderMedia over the last 15 years, what we have tried so hard to focus on is how do you as a small business professional make sure that in your community today, if somebody wakes up and needs your expertise, so if you're a real estate agent and Luke wakes up today and maybe he's 3 doors down from you in your neighborhood and he goes, you know what, I think I'm going to sell my house because I have a job offer in another state. In that moment, you have to make sure that Luke thinks of you. And how do you do that? You do that by building relationships. And how do you build relationships? You have to stay connected. And that's what ReminderMedia has been all about. And as this webinar, as we decided to do this topic, really what happened to us is, after our last webinar, we got into the brainstorming session and said, okay, what's going to be the next topic we coach on or the next topic we talk about? And as we started bouncing ideas around the table and trying to understand what our clients need the most, we came to this idea of scripts. And we said, what if we did a webinar on the best scripts that are out there, like FSBO scripts or, calling for referral scripts? And we were all excited about it, but then I started calling some of my friends that are clients, some of my friends in the industry, to pick their brain. And they really said to me, Luke, we don't really need help on scripts necessarily. We can just Google, and there's just a myriad of scripts. But what we need help on is how do we get our inside sales reps, if we have them on our team ourselves, we struggle with engaging. How do we get people to listen to us? Because you might have the best script in the world, but if someone doesn't give you the actual ability to actually present your value proposition, i.e. do your script, it's all for loss. And that's what led me down this road of going, okay, engagement. How do you get engagement? How do you make things happen? How do you connect with people? And that's what led me to this idea of rapport. And as I think to what I've learned in my life from Tony Robbins stuff to Zig Ziglar stuff, I really want to frame up for you guys some key ways, really 3 different ways that you should concentrate on to build rapport. And the reason why you need to do this, diving into this topic, I learned this, that everything you want in life, and write this down if you're taking notes, everything you want in life, someone else has. Now, don't perceive this as a negative thing, meaning you're not going to go steal it from them or take it from them, but everything you want, someone else has. The advice you want, the title, the money, whatever it is, someone else has it. So how do you get them to give it to you? There's no way they're going to give something to you if you don't first present to them something of value. And that's what you guys have heard me talk about on other webinars. It's called the reciprocity effect. Doing something nice for somebody triggers in them wanting to do something back to you. You doing something of value triggers someone wanting to give you currency or something like that for it. But before you can actually even get to a place of reciprocity, you first have to build rapport. You don't even have the opportunity to have a reciprocal type relationship and trigger reciprocity if you haven't first built rapport. And your sales scripts out there, guys, are no substitute for human connection. The key is really in building these relationships, because you guys have heard the saying, your net worth is your network. There is no doubt the more I live my life and the more opportunity I've had to connect with really high-level individuals and been blessed in that area, it has transformed my life, because your vibe is your tribe. You will end up the sum of the people you hang out with, and the value of each and every one of your businesses truly is in your database. So what is rapport? I thought it'd be good to start just with kind of a definition to put us all on the same page in the same context. Rapport really is a friendly, harmonious relationship characterized by agreement, mutual understanding, or empathy. So let me simply put it for you. What rapport is having a connection with somebody. Having a connection where you and that person have this understanding, this connection, and it's mutually beneficial. So my question to you is, how do you guys naturally build rapport? If I were to ask you to chat in, you guys can chat into your chat box right now, what are some of the ways you naturally build rapport? If I were to ask you to go introduce yourself at a networking event, or maybe you're at a bar and go introduce yourself to someone at a bar, what would you naturally do? And what most of you are probably chatting in right now, and if I open up the chat box, I probably see it, what you guys are chatting in is you actually go up and you ask people questions. The number one way we try to build rapport is we go up to people and we try to ask them questions. We start trying to ask them questions to get them to engage. What I want you to think of, because we're all business professionals here and I want to frame this up in terms of business. If you're not engaging with someone on your sales call, first note to take, are you asking enough questions? This is called the discovery phase of your sales process. Are you asking enough questions? And Tony Robbins talks about any good business, really this is the key right here. You have to understand their greatest pain points and you have to understand their greatest desires. If you understand someone's greatest pain points and understand their greatest desires, then you as a business can create an irresistible offer to help solve the pain points or fulfill the greatest desires. But here's what I will tell you guys. We usually go ask questions to try to build rapport, but it actually isn't in the asking of questions that you build rapport. When you're asking questions to somebody, what are you searching for? What are you searching for when you ask questions to somebody? What you're searching for, guys, is you're searching for commonality. When you're asking questions to somebody, what you're hoping for is you're hoping that you strike a chord with somebody and you have some sense of camaraderie, some experience that you've had that you can build commonality. And you guys can write this down, that rapport really is the feeling of commonality that you have with somebody. And this is critical when you're prospecting, because when you actually go into your sales call, when you do the discovery phase, when you find out someone's pain point, when you find out what they want to achieve, how then can you relate to that pain point or to that greatest desire that they have? It's really powerful if you can share a personal testimony, where you can share a personal testimony. I mean, imagine if your client is a FSBO that you're trying to prospect, and you're trying to prospect this for sale by owner, and they don't want to use a real estate agent because the last real estate agent that they used, they didn't really do anything. They didn't get the home sold, and they wanted to charge an outrageous commission. It was a terrible experience. And you could share with them, and this is just an example, imagine you have a testimony that the reason why you got into real estate was because you had a terrible experience in buying a home and you didn't want anybody else to experience that. That shared camaraderie will help you build rapport. So you want to ask a lot of questions so you can find commonality. Another trait I would give you is you want to make sure you give sincere compliments. This is something that Zig Ziglar teaches all the time. Get off the phone with a great salesperson and you will feel like $1,000,000. And you'll be scratching your head going, man, why do I feel so good? And if you look back and actually break down scientifically what they've done, they have complimented you. And I put compliments actually when I was first designing this webinar, but I came back and put sincere compliments because one of the easiest ways to damage a conversation is to give fake compliments or insincere compliments just to try to build rapport. They have to be sincere compliments, and it's really easy, guys, to compliment somebody. You might be asking yourself, what if I run into somebody that I don't know what to compliment on? It's super easy to compliment. It could be their dress, it could be their eyes, it could be their hair, it could be their, their house. I mean, there's so many areas that you could find a place where you could give them a sincere compliment. And to give you a testimony of myself, I remember there was a big deal we were working in New York City. And we came out to and pitched them in New York City, high pressure, was super nervous, but we walked out of that conversation and guess what? I knew that client that we were pitching, I knew they felt like $1,000,000. You know how I knew it? Because 80% of the time, we talked about them. We got them to talk about themselves and the things that they loved, and all we did was sandwich our company and put on the front our proposal, on the end wrapping it up, and gotten in the middle of understanding who they were, what they wanted, where they were going, what their dreams were. And I knew coming out of that client was super impressed because we got them talking about themselves and gave them sincere compliments. And that leads me to the third bullet point, which is remember key information. One of the greatest ways to build rapport with somebody, and this is going to be critical. I'm going to touch on this on one of the points in the latter part of this webinar. Remember key information in your conversations because it's really, really powerful when you touch base with somebody and you remember things that they told you. It is super powerful to remember that, and this is critical for all the business owners listening to this. When you think about your nurture campaigns, one of the critical aspects of getting open rates on your nurture campaigns, of getting click-throughs, is to make things personalized, to make things relevant. And the only way you can make things personalized and relevant is if you remember key information. So now I want to move into a slide that teaches you a method of how to do this, because the question you should be asking in your mind is, okay, I get it, ask questions, but it's really not about the question asking, it's really the searching for commonality, give sincere compliments. But what is a way we can do this? This method right here has never let me down in any networking event or whenever I've met somebody for the first time. And this is a great note for you guys to take if you're taking notes. This is what should be in your CRM about your clients because it will transform your marketing. It will transform your conversations. It's called the Ford method. Maybe you've heard about it before. But Ford stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Think about yourself going up to someone in a bar and you introduce yourself, and then you're struggling. Are you the type of person, maybe you're an introvert, you're the type of person that struggles to get the conversation going. An easy way to get a conversation to going is ask people about these 4 pillars. People always have family, they always have an occupation, they always have a hobby that they do, and they always have dreams that they want to accomplish. And when you understand these and get people talking about them, that's where you get the key information to be able to write down what is this person's dream? What is this person's hobby? And then think about it this way. When you find someone's hobby, like for me it's music. I've been playing guitar since I was like 11 years old. I love guitar. So now you know Luke loves the guitar. Now imagine you as a business professional and you're on Facebook and you wake up today and you see an article on guitar or some music thing. You could literally go to my Facebook page, send me a personalized message, have that article and say, hey Luke, hope you're doing well, was thinking about you today. I saw this article come across my Facebook feed and it made me think of you because I know you love guitar. That right there, people, is super powerful. You're creating a connection with me, and not only did you create rapport maybe when you first met me, you're now keeping rapport. So the only issue when it comes to really developing rapport by asking questions and going through this Ford method is the problem of the 7% rule. Do any of you guys know the 7% rule? The 7% rule, guys, and I'll skip ahead here, the 7% rule is that only 7% of your communication comes from your actual verbal speaking. 93% of your communication actually is nonverbal. And one of the most powerful things that we teach our salespeople is the idea of how much time do you spend training on the 7% versus the 93%. Think about that. We train on our scripts that we do. We train on all the things we're going to say, but we spend very, very little time training on the 93% of communication that is nonverbal. So what do you do to actually improve this 93% of communication? The first technique that I would give you is this technique of mirroring and matching. So this technique is widely used in neurolinguistics programming. So this is a model that was created by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. You guys can look it up and study it. It outlines connections between neurology, language, and behavior. But the idea is simply this, is that people feel most comfortable, guys, around people like them, or if you want to add to that, people like they want to be like. And this is really critical. When you think of mirror and matching, what you want to think about is people are most comfortable around people like themselves. We all like people like ourselves. That's why we are the way we are. Or people like we aspire to be like. And that's where I think the greatest salespeople always become, the Zig Ziglars of the world. They do mirror and matching, but they do mirror and matching taking you to the place you want to be because they understand the prospect they're talking to at such a high level. A question all of us should ask ourselves, myself included, is do I understand my clients so much that I understand the person that they want to be? And I can be that person that when I actually communicate with them and I actually touch base with them, that they actually are drawn to me because I'm the type of individual, have the type of personality, have the type of, persona of who they want to be. And so people feel the most comfortable around people like themselves or people like they want to be. So how do you do this mirror and matching? What I want to walk you guys through are ways you can concentrate on mirror and matching on the phone and ways you can concentrate on mirror and matching face to face. On the phone, there's 4 things you should write down: your tone, your tempo, your volume, and the words your client uses. So think about it this way. You're calling maybe absentee owners. And you're calling somebody and they answer the phone and they're like, hello? And they talk really soft and maybe it's a low volume. Do you want to go in and say, well, hello, my name's Luke Acree from ReminderMedia? Of course you don't. And to kind of break down the analogy for you, imagine someone from New Jersey or New York, if I have any New Yorkers on the line, calling someone in Louisiana and they talk all Southern. And do you want to go in like a bulldog or do you want to match that person's tone? One of the most powerful things you can do when you're calling on the phone is understand real quickly the tone that someone is talking to you in and start matching that tone to make them feel comfortable. And then start pacing the words you use at the same pace that your clients are talking. And mark my words, guys, if you start doing this, if you start matching someone's tone and matching the tempo as they speak, watch them open up. Watch their body language open up. That maybe when you first meet them, they're kind of hunched over or their arms are crossed. Watch how they actually open up and you'll hear it and you'll sense it through the phone because you're actually building that rapport naturally with them. This is something that's proven in psychology that if you match someone's tone, if you match their tempo and their volume, they will naturally like you. Assume this, when you call someone and they're aggressive against you on the phone, hey, I've been getting tons of different calls from real estate agents all day. You should match that tone back to them. Because what you're basically saying is, I appreciate and understand your passion that you are giving to me. I actually hear you. I hear why you're coming at me. You don't want to make them feel like they aren't understood, and you don't want them on the opposite side. If they're very soft, you don't want them to feel awkward because you're coming at them. And then last but not least, match the words your client uses. This is super powerful on your listing presentations. Imagine when you go to your listing presentation, before you give your listing presentation, you walk through the house with that prospective client. Listen to the words of how they describe their house. What are the words they use to describe their house? Take note of that in your mind as you're walking around. Ask them what their dream home would look like. Ask them these things so they can describe to you in their own words what they want. Then, when you sit down to give the listing presentation, use the same words that they've used to be descriptive. It is really, really powerful. Don't make the mistake that amazing, when your client says amazing, is the same as when you say fantastic. I know that seems simple, but it's true. Your version of fantastic might not strike the same chord in their heart and mind as they use the word amazing. This is a super simple but powerful way to build rapport with somebody by using the same words that they use and repeating it back to them, because they naturally communicate that way, and subconsciously, this might not be conscious for them, but subconsciously, they're going to be drawn to you because you have started to match the tone of how they feel. You've started to pace your words from a tempo perspective. You're using the same volume they're using, but last but not least, you start to use the same descriptive words that they use, especially when you're describing what you can do for them. So when they talk about their dream home or where they're going or what they're trying to accomplish, when you repeat back what you can do for them, use that same words, and subconsciously you're going to connect and build that rapport. So let's move to face-to-face, and I put face-to-face here, but this can also be used on the phone. I encourage my reps when they're making their phone calls, stand up, because your posture matters, your gesture matters. You can study, radio DJs understand this more than anybody. A smile can be felt through the phone. You know, people can feel how you're feeling through the phone. So this even is true over phone interactions. But concentrate on your posture, your gestures, your facial expressions, eye contact, breathing, proximity. Let's think about this as in terms of your door knocking. When you go up to door knock, how are you positioning yourself to that client? And how are they positioning themselves to you? You will really see this very quickly when you meet someone at a networking event or you meet someone for the first time, how their posture is and how their gestures are, their hand gestures. I encourage you, start using those same gestures and same postures. Now, obviously, you don't want to do this awkwardly where you start matching every movement they do, because that's going to come across a little strange. But if you slowly get into using the same gestures that they have, the same posture that they have, you're going to build that rapport. Here's what I mean. If you look and watch, and I challenge you to do this tonight with maybe a significant other or a family member or a friend, watch their idiosyncrasies. Watch how when they talk, they use their hands. Especially watch when they're making statements that they believe in. How is their hand facing? Are they pointing with one finger? Are their hands open? When you start talking to them, when you start making statements at the same type of idea, use the same hand gesture. Because you'll see the subconscious, what will start happening is they will start opening up to you, because they'll start feeling like you understand them, that you get them. This is really true for your facial expressions. So when someone is giving you a facial expression and they're telling a story to you, they're describing their dream home and they're super smiley, be smiley back to them. Use the same facial expressions to make sure they understand what you're feeling, that you're feeling the same thing that they're feeling. When it comes to your eye contact, there's a huge myth out there in sales. This myth is that you should never lose eye contact, that you should stare someone straight into the eyes, and you should lock in on them and never lose eye contact. The truth is, you should naturally use the same type of eye contact that they use. If you lock into them and you are not moving your eyes and they keep looking away, you're more giving them intimidation than you are giving them rapport. And then breathing, this one is hard to, when you first hear it, because the first time I heard this from Tony Robbins, it was kind of hard for me to believe. This is super powerful when you're doing it with your significant other and your spouse, but it's the truth. You can do it for your prospects too. Start trying to match your breathing to how they're breathing. So much of your emotions comes from how you're breathing. So much of your excitement that's going to be portrayed, so much of how you actually use your words will be portrayed in how you breathe. And there's so many studies done on this that if you start matching your breathing with somebody, you're going to start getting on the same level as them. You're going to start feeling the same things they're feeling. And then proximity. What proximity is all of us have our own space. Maybe call it your personal space. And People have different types of personal space. Have you ever had that client or that prospect that gets right up in your face? The truth is here, you should be matching that proximity and embracing that proximity. And you should also understand how your client wants that proximity to be. And the easy way to do this is when you actually are around the client, if you step forward to them, you'll see it really quickly on their facial expressions, whether or not they enjoy this proximity or they don't. But be thinking about this when it comes to your prospecting, your door knocking, your phone calls. Again, I reiterate the point that how much time are we spending practicing our script versus when we walk away from that door knocking asking ourselves, how was my posture? How was my gestures? Were my facial expressions, was I matching the client's facial expressions? Was I giving the eye contact that made them feel like I understood what they were saying? If you work on doing this, what you'll find is it's called pacing and leading. What you'll find is that as you start basically mirroring and matching that person, whether it's on the other end of the phone or maybe at the dinner table or at a listening presentation, what you'll find is you'll find not only the rapport being built, but mark my words, and this is an experiment all of you guys can do, go out with the client and start matching everything they do. If they go for their food or drink at a certain time, go for your drink at that time. Start matching everything they do, and then watch, when you go for your drink, they'll go for their drink. And that's called the pacing and leading portion of where you get to when you're in rapport with somebody. So moving on from mirroring and matching, guys, the other way you can build rapport is building rapport by giving. One of the mistakes we tend to make when we first meet our clients is a lot of us on this webinar are probably very, very good people person and very, very good at building rapport in that moment. But we're really bad at keeping rapport with somebody and staying in touch with them regularly. And I call this building rapport by giving, but what I would encourage all of you to do is that you must keep in connection with somebody, and one of the best ways to do that is by giving to them. You can give to them with a gift. If you guys are fans of Brian Buffini, he has this pop by where you pop by your client's house, and his whole concept is this gratitude concept where you're giving to them. Where this is key is that when you first met them, you ask them questions, you use the forward method, you understand what their hobbies are, what their dreams are, what their job is, their family, and so you can tailor your gift and your communication to touch on those topics, that key information that you wrote down. You can support a cause or an event that they're actually passionate about. A lot of our clients, what they'll do is they'll use their magazine on the back cover. They'll support a local charity that their clients are involved in, because what this does is not only do you get the halo effect where if you associate with good things, people are going to naturally think you're good, but more importantly, you're going to show your clients that you value them and that you care about them, that you've kept in touch with them. One of the most powerful things to do today in this technology-driven world is to send a personal note to somebody, is to write a personal note. How many of us, when we get a letter, do we not open it? We open up 100% of the personal letters we get. Why? Because it's something that triggers that gratitude, it triggers that feeling of value. So I'd encourage you to send personalized messages. You can do this even through a text message. I know that seems simple, but the truth is if you pull out your phone and send a text message to somebody as you're thinking about them, it's powerful. You want to check in with your clients regularly. One of the easiest ways I prove this when I'm coaching a client is I tell them, hey, on your birthday, on social media, do you look and feel valued when your friends post happy birthday on your Facebook wall? But how many times do you have these recommendations pop up for you on Facebook or on LinkedIn that says it's this person's birthday, but you don't go right on their wall because you're thinking, it's just that notification for a birthday. But you look at it in your own shoes, and I can't help it. I'm the same way. I look and go, oh man, look, there's 80 people that have wished me happy birthday today, and it still makes you feel valued because it's personal, it's that check-in. You cannot build rapport with somebody as a business just one time. This is the biggest mistake that businesses make. You have to stay in rapport, which rapport is that harmonious relationship. It's that friendship. It's that connection. And the only way to stay in rapport is to have an understanding of who your clients are personally and to personally care about them. So just as a recap for you guys, it's all about building rapport. The 3 ways I have found over and over again in my life as I built ReminderMedia is find commonality, asking questions by doing that, using the Ford method, mirror and matching. This was the toughest thing for me to hear as a salesperson, as a young salesperson, because it seems very corny. And that's how I received it the first time when I heard it from Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and them. I was just like, this seems very kind of just mysticism, corny. I don't, this is all this, I don't know, this crap that I don't believe in. And then as I started to test it and I started to play it out in my own life, I started to see the fruits of it. I started to understand that, Luke, to really improve as a salesperson, you not only have to memorize and internalize your script, and you have to put in the persistence, making the dials, doing the door knocking. More importantly, you have to understand how are you making people feel. And that's a physical thing way more than it is a verbal thing. And that's why it's critical that you start working on the physical aspect of who you are, how you're presenting yourselves to people, how your eye contact is, your smiles are, how your tone is, your tempo. These things are what takes an average salesperson to a master at sales, because you are starting to focus on where 93% of communication is done. And then last but not least, this building rapport from giving. It has served me so well in my life, though it is very, very difficult, to start my mindset in a mindset of giving, which is really, really hard because giving costs money and it really costs your time. Most of us woke up today and what was on our mind was generating sales for our business. Where if we can switch our mindset into this mindset of how today am I going to help somebody? How today am I going to help my clients fulfill their greatest desires? Or how today am I going to solve my client's greatest pain point? That simple mind shift will start changing everything about your business. And then what you start implementing in your business is look at all your clients. And here's an action item for all of you. Look at your CRM today and ask yourself, how am I building rapport? How am I building a connection with each name that's listed in my CRM? What is it that I'm doing to build a connection with them? An easy way to do it is to look at the Ford method and go, for Luke Acree, how do I know where he's at with his family? How do I know where he's at with his occupation? What do I know he's interested in his hobbies? And what do I know what he wants to achieve? What are his dreams? Those 4 pillars, when you write that down, then all of a sudden you can go, okay, now I'm going to plan a marketing plan, a drip process, a nurture campaign around these things for Luke, because I know if I can touch Luke personally, then I can build a relationship with Luke, and I would stake my life on the thing that every sale comes from. It comes from a relationship. People have to know you, like you, and trust you to do business with you. And that's how they know you, like you, and trust you, is when you get into a state of rapport. So with that being said, I'm going to open it up for questions and answers. I know I talk super fast, so all of this is recorded. We're going to send it out to you guys. The slides will be available for you. But I want to answer some questions for you guys. If you have questions on how to build rapport, things that I've learned from the mistakes and successes that we've had here with ReminderMedia and our clients. But if you want to go to your chat box, Jesse's going to actually facilitate the questions for us.
First, a quick shout out to Diane, who just wrote in that while on the webinar, she got a text from a past client saying how much she loves the magazine and appreciates their friendship. So awesome. Thanks, Diane, for letting us know that.
That's amazing.
So the first question is from Lori. How can we find the sweet spot of how best and how often we should communicate with a quiet or very private potential client?
That's a great question. So, it first starts with, how is your relationship with that client? So you have a quiet client and very private client. So where do you stand in that quietness and that privacy? Meaning, are you outside of the inner circle of that client as you're just more perceived as the real estate agent, or do you have a personalized friendship with them? Because that would differentiate my strategy. The first thing I would do if I had a private client, someone that really is more reserved, doesn't want to reveal a lot, I would make sure that I focus on building trust. And how I would do that is through the nature of where they're at in the buying process. So depending if I'm working them right now and I know maybe I'm selling their house, I would make sure I'm above and beyond in revealing everything that's happening for that client and what I'm doing, because I know they're reserved, they're very private, which means they probably don't want to open up because maybe they don't trust you or maybe they don't want to reveal too much. So I would make sure I'm maybe, I heard this from our podcast, Stay Paid. This was an amazing piece of advice we got on a podcast recently, which said your client is, you wake up today and you have 30 different homes that you're dealing with that you're wondering, are they going to buy? Is someone going to buy it? Am I going to be able to sell it? Your client wakes up with one home on their mind. They wake up, if it's a listing, they wake up going, I wonder today if we're going to get any offers. Or they go to bed going, I wonder why we didn't get any offers today. Where a buyer wakes up today going, I wonder if today is going to be the day I find my dream home. And they go to bed going, I wonder if my dream home ever exists. And once you understand that's how your client's thinking, that gives you a new appreciation of how much you should really get in touch with them. And meaning that every day they're wondering this. So if it's you and you put yourself in the shoes of the buyer or the listing, you would almost want to know every day, wouldn't you? So imagine if you sent just a simple update email in the morning, a simple update email at night, and I know that's very taxing, so it just depends on obviously where your relationship is with the client. But if I'm dealing with the private client, what I would do is first and foremost get myself into a place of trust where they open up to me, where they feel enough trust to where they start sharing with me those 4 pillars. What's going on with their family? Where are they at with their occupation? More importantly, what's their dreams? Meaning, what are they trying to accomplish? And I would start making sure that they feel comfortable enough with me to share that. And that's going to be a little bit of testing, and I call it like micro testing, where you start communicating and you start understanding like what response are you getting. So as you call them, you can start hearing their tone and you can start understanding if you're communicating too much or too little. But the first step for me would be getting to a place of trust with them. It's a great question.
All right, so the next question is from Bill. How can we use American Lifestyle to establish better rapport with the client?
This is a great question, and I should have touched on this more in the webinar. Our next issue is our pet issue. So how many pet owners do we have on the line? Chat in if you have a pet. I have 2 dogs. So one is a rescue that we got about a year ago, and the other is just a mix that we had a neighbor that had a bunch of puppies, and so we took one. But, it is amazing how much I love those dogs and how much I connect with people over their pets. And so my point with saying this is that our next issue is our pet issue, guys. So imagine you put a picture of you and your pet on the cover of the magazine. And you should know this, but if you don't, that's okay. Go to your CRM. How many of your clients have pets? And that's a natural, easy way for you to have a conversation with them to where you literally could call them up and just let them know, hey, I want to see if you got the latest issue of American Lifestyle Magazine. Actually, our issue is our pet issue. And I wanted to reach out to you because I know you had a pet. And just that simple understanding of, hey, I know you have pets. I have a pet myself. You're going to build that camaraderie. And that translates way further than just the pet issue. Meaning every issue has different articles and different themes that you should be looking at your client list that you're sending to and asking to yourself, what could I call Susie today and have a conversation with her about an article that I know would probably intrigue her or is part of her likes and her hobbies and her interests. It's really critical that you start tracking what your clients are interested in, because that's where your relationship comes from, where you are the real estate agent that's not just the guy who sells me homes, but like my real estate agent, I go to lunch with all the time. I go to lunch with this person all the time, and we talk way more than just about business. We talk about life, and that's where a relationship is. And that's how this person's going to earn my business long term, because I'm more than just a transaction to him. So using the articles as conversation pieces, and if you think to yourself, well, Luke, I'm sitting here today, I don't know the likes and interests of all my people on my list. There's just no way I can do that. It's impractical. I would challenge you and say it is practical, but you can still use the simple fact that you sent them a gift. This is the main differentiator between sending an email to somebody, a postcard to somebody, or our magazine. The magazine is proven that people perceive it as a gift. For lack of a better word, I mean psychologically, they pull it out of their mailbox and they literally go, wow, this is nice, and they bring it into their home and they're setting it on their coffee table, their countertop, their bedside table. The point being is they're not tossing it. They're not perceiving it as just marketing collateral, and that's super, super important to realize, because that gives you the ability to call them and literally tell them, wanted to check in to see if you were receiving the gift I sent you. I actually just got mine and it made me think of you because I know I'm sending it to you. And also, I know I haven't talked to you in a while, just wanted to check in and see how life was doing. You literally can call somebody because of the magazine, because it's more gift-oriented than it is marketing collateral-oriented. And I hope that makes sense to you. But those are easy ways you can use it. You can use the back cover to support a local community event, support a local charity. I talked about the giving. Imagine you partner with your local charity like we partnered, ReminderMedia partnered with Phil Abundance. We do a charity issue every year. This past year for us was Feeding America. So we partnered with our local Phil Abundance, which is basically, a nonprofit that's, basically a food bank. And we partnered, and not only did we go down there and serve, but there's collateral that's made up for that. And you guys can do the same in your local community to start building that rapport with your clients. This is really popular if we have financial advisors on the line. Super popular for you to feature your client's charity. Not necessarily the charity they run is what I'm saying, but a charity they're really involved with. Feature a client's charity on the back cover. It will make them feel super valued, like you support them. And more importantly, it helps you from a standpoint of connecting with the community and the halo effect, because you're giving and people are associating you now as a giver.
All right, the next question is from Joanne. It's, how do you suggest I add the Ford method to my CRM?
So each CRM is set up a tiny bit different, but you guys can actually do this in your account interface as well. So if you guys log into your account interface, any of your marketing coaches can help you do this. But there's a place in your account interface where you can put notes on your client. So I would encourage you to put in there the notes, because here then will trigger you when your magazine's estimated delivery time, right? So you can see, okay, this is when the U.S. Postal Service is going to deliver my magazines. Then you can very quickly go through your list and just look at those notes and say, oh yeah, with Luke, he likes music, he plays guitar, he has 2 dogs, one's a rescue. You can very quickly see, and then you can see the articles that are in the magazine. And it will help you start understanding, okay, I could talk to this person about this. And that's really just a 10, 15-minute exercise. And this is what I challenged my brother with. Him and I have this thing, we're holding each other accountable. We're waking up at 4 a.m. every morning and, obviously going to the gym and stuff like that. But what I've been telling him is, do these small tasks that no one else does, because it feels too time consuming, but it's really a 15-minute task. And use your time in the morning before you can make your phone calls, before you can show a client around. You're not really showing clients around at 5:30 a.m. Use 15 minutes there to just go and do a cleanse of your database. Make sure you understand every client that's in there. You understand who they are. You have notes on their Ford method. If not, think about it this way. If you don't have a note on somebody, right, that's a perfect reason to call them. You can literally call them. This is another tip we got from a recent podcast on Stay Paid. The tip we got is you can literally call somebody and tell them, hey, Jesse, haven't touched base with you in a while. Actually, the reason for my call is I felt bad. I haven't talked to you in a while. I just wanted to check in and see how life was. That literally can be your phone call. And from there, then all of a sudden you know to yourself to collect the information that you're getting so you can be more personal and more relevant the next time you reach out to them, and you can build that rapport with them that lasts into that relationship. But it's a great, great question.
All right, the next question is from Maggie, and it's, any techniques on how to come across as genuine through text messaging?
This is a great question. You can build rapport, and you can use mirror and matching in writing. Now, I am not a writer by trade, so it's not like copy and stuff like that. I have to hire more talented people than me to write copy. But one thing I do understand about copy, and I understand about text messaging, is understanding who you're talking to and understanding the relationship you have with them will help you translate to what your email should be, or your text message. And a perfect way to think about this is, who are you going to send emojis to and who are you not going to send emojis to? Because you may be with a high-end client that's a super business professional or super professional type of person. You might not want to write, what's up, man, in your text message. But for someone like me, I actually would be more endeared to someone who is communicating to me in short text saying, what's up, man, how are you doing? So it's a little bit of understanding who you're talking to. And I would encourage each of you that as you go about in your rapport building, that you try to take note of who this client is. And if you don't know, right, because a lot of you are starting with already a database when you're on this webinar, you can do this pretty easily by demographics, age groups, that type of idea. And it's stereotypical, I know, but at least it gives you a starting point so you know your younger crowd will not mind emojis nearly as much. Although I shouldn't say that because my mother texts in emojis all the time now. But, versus like your older crowd, they might prefer a well-written email. So those are some of the things that you can think of to give you a starting point of how to build rapport over text. But when you think of building rapport, understand it's about putting yourself in that client's shoes. So that's how you build rapport, right? Building that commonality. How do you build commonality? How do you speak to someone like you understand and you're speaking the way they would speak? And so think of that person and go, would this person write this email? Would this person write this text message? And that's a good benchmark for you to check your email or check your text message before you send it.
All right, this next question is from Ethan. How do you engage someone that's maybe feeling down and out? Would you still match tone?
This is a great question. So I would actually encourage you to match their tone, and here's why. Because someone who's down and out, if you come at them peppy and upbeat, what do they feel? They don't feel like you've heard them. So the key, and Grant Cardone talks about this, he calls it staying in agreement. And if you guys don't know who Grant Cardone is, he's the #1 sales trainer in the world right now. What he talks about is staying in agreement with somebody. Because if you stay in agreement with somebody, you have a chance to then start and give them your value proposition. You have a chance to actually stay in the conversation versus getting into like a debate mode or an argumentative mode. So think about this in terms of your relationship. And I suffer from this with my wife. When my wife has a problem, my first inclination is to try to fix it and try to be like upbeat. Oh, it's not that bad. When all she wants is really me to make sure she feels like I understand and I'm listening. So the reason why I would encourage you is to match that person's tone, not necessarily the words they're using to be depressed or down and out, but the tone is to make sure they understand that you've heard them. This is critical for me on retention. So when my people call in to cancel, which I hope they never do, but they do, right? So people call in to cancel, I don't want them to feel like I haven't heard them. So if someone says, I've been doing this, I'm not getting anything out of it, I want to repeat back to them, hey, I totally understand, I can't believe that you're doing this and you don't feel like you're getting anything out of it. That's terrible. I want them to feel that I understand because I need them to know, hey, I hear you. Then when I hear them and I build that commonality or I build that rapport through my tone, my tempo, my volume, then I have the chance and opportunity now to present my value proposition. And hopefully, remember, people like themselves are who they want to be. And now I have potential to swerve and to redirect the conversation to, if I truly know my client's greatest pain points and their greatest desires, I can start positioning my tone to who that client wants to be. I can start positioning my tempo, start positioning the words I use to who that client wants to be. But that won't happen if I don't first get the opportunity to really build a relationship with this person and say, hey, I understand where you're coming from. I understand by how I'm talking to you, my tone, my tempo, my volume. I understand in the facial expressions I'm giving to you. I want you to feel heard, and then I redirect. So I would encourage you that if your clients are down and out, is make them feel understood by matching that from a tone perspective and then redirect. So I hope that helps you.
All right, and then this question is from Andy. What is the biggest mistake you have made in rapport building, and how should you avoid it?
I think for me personally is the biggest mistake I've made. This is a great question. Put me on the spot. I think the biggest mistake I've made is going into rapport building, knowing I'm trying to build rapport, and hence all of the stuff I'm doing is insincere. I don't know if that's making sense to people because it's a deep question, but for me personally is that it's really, really difficult when you're trying to master a craft to be authentic. And I compare it to guitar playing. There's some guitar players that you hear that are technically great, but you don't feel the music. Why is that? I don't, that you just don't feel it, but they're technically so good. But then there's guitar players that are technically amazing, but you feel everything they're doing because there's just just this authenticity to what they're doing. And I think for me is that I've struggled in my life of trying to master the processes of things and forgetting the reason why I'm doing it. And so my challenge to you guys to learn from that, and myself included, is all of these tips is to always remember why you're trying to build rapport. In the sense of, I truly do want to get to know this person. I truly do want to have a harmonious relationship with this person. I truly do care about their greatest desires, and I truly do want to solve their greatest pain points. And that's a thing that you have to constantly keep yourself in check on, otherwise you become robotic, for lack of a better word. So that's been one of the areas that I've really struggled to build rapport. I'm trying to think what else over-processing, I guess, is how to sum that up. But trying to think of what else I've really, really struggled with in building rapport. I think this is a little bit more of the same, but a lot of times when you try to build rapport, you're trying to make sure that you're liked. Don't try to make sure you're liked, because there's nothing worse than someone who wants to be liked and there's no way, you just don't like them. So trying to be liked when I am around a group of people, I don't know if you guys suffer with that, is I'm so concerned with being liked by the people I'm presenting to or coming across the right way that I end up just being totally self-absorbed and there's no chance of building rapport there. So I hope that helps. All right, guys, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I really appreciate that last question. Super appreciate all of you guys being on. I want to give you kind of a special webinar-only deal. So if you've hung on this long, I want to reward you for that and appreciate you guys for just giving me your time. And we reward action takers. You guys know my tagline that I try to end every podcast, every piece of content is the idea of taking action. That's really the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer. So any new clients that would like to sign up for American Lifestyle Magazine, we'll give you guys a discounted setup fee. So we'll reduce your setup fee for you and we will give you our 1,000 count price point. So if you want to, we'll send out a link to you guys after this webinar, but the link is remindermedia.com/rapport. You can go there and you can see not only the details of the product, but you can see the special pricing for you for being part of this webinar. If you go to remindermedia.com/rapport, and we're going to send that out to you guys. So you'll have that, and obviously you'll have the recording. For all my current clients, I want to encourage you guys to add new names to the list. You've gone through 2018 now. I want to encourage you to stay in touch with those people because you built rapport enough to service them, especially the homes you sold in 2018 or the buyers you helped in 2018. You have a great enough relationship with them where they trusted you with one of the biggest transactions, if not the biggest of their life. Don't lose touch with them. Don't lose a chance to continue rapport with them because that's where referrals come from. That's obviously where the repeat business comes from. So any recipient you add for your next mailing, I'll pay for half of it, up to 20. So if you guys want to add 20 of your transactions from last year, I'll pay for half of those on your next mailing. Just because I do want to encourage you. I just know, and I don't know how to say this any more simply, I just know if you guys take action and call your clients, touch base with them, tell them you care about them, as corny as that sounds, I know that is the difference maker for the top producers I work with versus the mediocre producers. Meaning if you find yourself looking at people in the office and you feel they work less than you, but yet they're getting more transactions, I guarantee you if you study it the way I've studied it over the years now, it's because they are masters at relationships. They're masters at keeping in touch with people. They almost don't even have to do marketing because their word of mouth becomes so strong. And obviously, I would encourage you guys, you still want to hustle, you want to make the cold calls, you want to door knock, all those things you have to do in parallel, but building relationships is the key. So add those people that you did a transaction with. It's proven that most referrals come within 24 months of selling someone their house. So are you going to capture all the sales you did in 2018? They should be giving you referrals. You should at least be getting, NAR says 60% of your business should come from referral and repeat business. So if 60% of your business should come from that, look at your past clients and make sure you're building rapport with them. So really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Please follow us on social media. Please, if you guys want, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. I really just have dived in over the past year, getting into Instagram and Facebook for myself and opening myself up because I really want to be not only transparent to my clients, but I really want to get to know more people personally. Because as technology is rapidly changing, the industry is changing, things that work today might not work tomorrow. I'll only be as good as how many people I'm connected to with boots on the ground, how many people I'm helping. So I would love if all of you guys pull out your phones right now and go to Instagram and just find @LukeAcree. I would love to friend each of you guys. If you have questions, you can ask me questions, pick my brain, but I would love to connect with you guys. Obviously, we produce so much content here in hopes that it will help somebody, that they'll see it at the right time, they'll be encouraged to take action on it. If you guys follow ReminderMedia on YouTube, on our Instagram, on our Facebook, you'll get access to our resources that come out. We're constantly shooting videos and writing content from the people we're learning from. You can check out our Stay Paid podcast that I mentioned at staypaidpodcast.com. We are interviewing a ton of super successful people and just picking their brain and trying to pull action items out of there that you guys can use in your everyday life. So hopefully you guys have an incredible sales week. If you're at 10X, let me know. Friend me on social media. I would love to meet you down there. If you're down in Miami at the 10X Growth Con, I'll be there. So I would love to meet up with you guys if you're down there. Just remember, and I'll close out with what I said, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers is top producers take action. So take action on something you've heard today and watch the effects of it in your business. Practice it for 90 days, and I guarantee you your next quarter will be better. So have a great day. Thank you guys for listening.